If Amanda Anisimova wins Wimbledon, I'll go blonde.
Hello and welcome to the Tennis Podcast live from Wimbledon on day 12 of the Championships. An absolute scorcher of a day here in southwest London today, and actually one that's still ongoing. If I'm in hushed tones for the next few minutes, it's because there's still a girls' doubles match deep into a third set behind us. So if you hear applause, it's not actually for us, it's for for the competitors involved in that. Today was, of course, the day that the men's singles final was decided here at Wimbledon. It'll be between Carlos Alcaraz and Jannik Sinner, but today was also the day that we possibly saw the last of Novak Djokovic as a truly competitive force at major tournaments, or maybe the day that we realised that we might actually have seen that long before this fortnight. And that, I think, is where we should start, because all three of us have just come from Novak Djokovic's press conference following his straight sets defeat to Jannik Sinner this afternoon, and heard him say that the reality of his ageing body has hit him like never before, and that while he was physically compromised in the match today, he didn't consider that to be down to bad luck, but he said down to age. He said that playing best of five has been a real struggle for him physically in the last year and a half, that he gets to the latter stage of slams and he feels like he's going into matches with the tank half empty. He also did add that he doesn't intend for today to be the end of his Wimbledon career. He said he wants to come back next year to play, quote, at least one more match. But David, Matt, this all did sound like an admission, I think, a realisation maybe that unless something really out of the ordinary happens and Sinner and Alcaraz go out early, maybe others too, he hasn't actually got what it takes to win Grand Slams anymore.
Yeah, I'm mindful that Novak Djokovic in post-match press conferences can say things that he then slightly rows back on. The heat of the moment, the emotion of the moment sometimes take him over. But at the same time, he's very detailed there, isn't he, about how he feels during the course of a Grand Slam now, and that it is different to how it used to be. He also did take that heavy fall a couple of days ago that perhaps contributed to how he was feeling out there. But he is pointing towards a wider problem and a wider issue of what age is doing to his body and how it's leaving him short energy-wise when it matters most. His body has given way at times as well. I think there has to be a big question mark as to whether he really wants to put in the grind over the summer and go to New York. I wonder about that, because everything this year has felt like it was about Wimbledon, and he's had a tough experience today. I said yesterday, if he takes a shellacking in this match, and my word, did he take one. You know, he had a little brief respite in the third set, but that felt like a little blip for Sinner. I thought that might well make him think, I don't know whether I want to do this anymore. I don't know whether I can do this anymore. And I still feel that the kind of lap of honour, the circuit of goodbye that I've been kind of advocating really for the last year might be a good thing for him to do, might well end up being what he does do. But I think it is probably over now for him as a competitive force at Grand Slams for winning them. I do think that.
And I think it's for two big reasons, isn't it? Because obviously there's the way his body keeps sort of failing him, as he said in that press conference, and as we've just talked about, for the last 6 slams, by my maths, he's been compromised by injury in some way. But the other thing which he did point to a little bit in the press conference as well is that Sinner and Alcaraz are there. You know, like if they weren't there, I do still think he would be able to win slams. He's got to the semis of them all this year. He'd beaten Alcaraz at one of them, but again, that was then his body then failed him. But like he said, I'm getting to the end of slams and my tank is empty. These guys are fit, they're fast. And he's doing absolutely everything he can to take care of his own body. He stressed that a number of times, that he still feels like he's working as hard as absolutely anyone on tour in terms of what he's putting in to make sure he's got as much as he's got. But it's just not enough to be able to keep up with those two in their prime, and it's taking its toll on him. So that when he does get to play them, he's kind of left a shadow of his self. And yeah, I've felt this for a little while, but I've not heard him articulate it quite like that before, and that was a real moment.
Yeah, it was a real moment. I mean, just to give you an indicator of what the atmosphere was like in that press conference room, Carlos Alcaraz came in just before Djokovic. He was actually supposed to be after, but Djokovic was delayed, as he always is, and Carlos Alcaraz, being the helpful guy that he is, came in early to kind of fill the gap. And Carlos Alcaraz is a two-time defending champion. His press conferences are very well attended. He's just reached the final. Like, he'd expect quite a busy room, but he walked in the room and sort of went like that and went, wow. Like, he was taken aback by how many people were in there. And I think also just what the vibe was in there. There were a lot of people with their laptops out ready to write, a potential retirement on the spot story. And that's obviously not the story. And yet it does feel like a bit of a version of that story, because those lines about, I don't intend for this to be my last Wimbledon, I'd like to come back and play at least one more match, it felt very farewell toury to me. And you've always called that, David. I've always thought, not doubted you on that, but just thought, God, a year is a long time to be saying goodbye all the time, and for somebody as great as him to feel uncompetitive and experience moments like today, a year feels like a long time to be going through that. But it does sound to me, David, like you were right, and that's what he intends.
I mean, we'll wait and see. I still think it is his best chance of being competitive, really, because I think that what he needs now probably is an end point in his mind, because he can't keep going on like this, I don't think, working as hard as he is without feeling confident that there'll be results at the end of it, because this must throw it into doubt. This is the one where he was coming in without injury. He felt fresh. It's his surface. He's playing Sinner's side of the draw. Sinner's never reached the final here, and it all looked good, really. I mean, obviously we still don't know what would have happened if he hadn't have taken that fall, but I think that might be covering up the wider point here. I just think if he were to announce next year as being his last, he could focus on that then. He could try to make himself ultra competitive. It might be easier to run, it's like when you go on a long run and there's a finish line there. If you just focus on that last bit, you can get there. That's not to say that I think he will win another Grand Slam. I actually don't now, having seen this today. But I think he could still get some good wins, some big wins, some runs, and more importantly for him, I think he would then get the chance to be absolutely lauded wherever he went. And I think he craves that, and I understand it, because he spent a career not getting that, not to the way he wanted anyway.
Yeah, and it was quite a low-key departure from centre court, wasn't it? Like, certainly in comparison to his one in Paris, when I know that he'd really acquitted himself so well that night, and he'd felt the appreciation during the match. I think he was taking a moment to sort of give it back at Roland Garros. But here he just, he waved, but he just left the court without any real fanfare. I don't know, like, if I had to say right now, I don't know why I'm saying this, but if I had to say right now, I'd probably say that he might retire at Wimbledon next year. Like that feels possible to me right now. And in terms of that energy in the room that you describe, I mean, it literally was standing room only. I know that because I was standing. And you said that the kind of journalists there ready for that sort of retirement story, and it's not a retirement story. But the thing is, if we're writing the Novak Djokovic is no longer competitive at majors story, that essentially is it, isn't it? Because that is Novak Djokovic. Like, he's a tennis player first and foremost, but really he's a tennis player that wins the biggest titles and competes for them. And yes, like, maybe he could get a quarterfinal run or semi-final run again, potentially. But even that feels tricky.
He's had 3 of those this year, and look, they've been good. There have been moments, but is that enough to sustain him for another year?
Yeah.
Doesn't sound like
it.
it.
And I think in hindsight, maybe the Sinner performance at Roland Garros in that semi-final there was closer to the sort of moment that we were talking about yesterday, David, in terms of like he comes out, he plays well, he's dangerous. It was night session, it was his conditions. He played so well that night. I think the straight sets nature of the win covers up the reality of just how good and how close Djokovic was to Sinner in that match. But that might have been the last moment.
Yeah, it was a completely different match to today.
Oh, it was totally
today
different.
was
It was
bizarre
awkward.
almost. Yeah, it was awkward. It was awkward, though. I think it wasn't helped by the fact that it was second on and it was such a hot day, and Djokovic just wasn't able to give the crowd anything to get their teeth into. Like, his body language was so tired and sort of kind of beyond flat. He looked old out there, and I do find it interesting that it'd have been so easy and understandable for him to put this down to the injury that he sustained in the quarterfinals, and the fact that he's not, because that clearly was a factor in hampering his movement today. The fact that he's not, and he's being so truthful and so realistic about the fact that isn't a factor in isolation. That in itself, the fact that he's been unable to recover from that, the fact that he sustained it in the first place and that it did the damage to him that it did, that is all due to the wider picture of ageing. The fact that he's being that realistic about it in a sport where being the right kind of deluded is such a crucial element to the mental game, does indicate to me that this has been in his mind since before this tournament. This is almost confirmation of a theory that has been percolating.
Yeah, because I think this was the one tournament where maybe he could defy the theory and defy the evidence. And honestly, when he came into his pre-tournament press conference, I was very convinced by him, and I think he was convinced by himself. He felt fresh and energetic, and as the week's gone on, that's been less the case. And today, I agree with you, he did look old, and I'm afraid somebody like Jannik Sinner exposes that. He was awesome today. I don't know what happened in the third set when he was 30-love up, and then he suddenly lost about, for goodness knows how many points in a row, and went 3-love down at the start of the third set. But even then, we were watching Catherine, and both felt that at 3-1, it's right in the balance. Even though he's 3-1 down, it's right in the balance who wins this set. It still felt like Sinner's likely to win it. And the way he beat Djokovic was just like watching vintage Djokovic beating everybody else. And there was not a flicker of an answer for Djokovic, and that maybe certainly contributed to by the injury. But yes, it was me who said yesterday that I thought he would rattle Sinner and come out firing, and at no point did he rattle Sinner. And he was a breakdown 3-1 within minutes, and it was Sinner who was rocking him. I've watched a lot of aging boxers run into a younger version and get stopped, and you suddenly see them age before your eyes. And tennis is probably the closest thing to that. It's without the violence, but it's one-on-one, and there's nowhere to hide. There's no help from teammates. You can't sub anybody in. You're exposed out there, and I did feel for Novak Djokovic in that way.
Did you share Matt's view that it could be here next year, the scene of his actual retirement?
I think that makes a lot of sense. When I think what I've just said about, I'm trying to get inside Novak Djokovic's head and think, how do I get motivated for the US Open this year? Now,
mixed doubles with Olga Danilovic.
Maybe, maybe not worrying about it and just enjoying yourself. I don't know. He's not had quite the history there that he's had here. I could see him wanting to play the Australian Open again because of all of his history there. But the thought of him carrying on in the second part of next year after Wimbledon, yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense what you say.
Do you see him, this farewell tour that you're envisaging for Novak Djokovic, how many events do you think he'll play beyond the majors?
I mean, I could imagine him certainly playing, I don't know, a Madrid and a Rome or something like a Rome maybe. I mean, I know he didn't play there this year, but he's got a great history with that tournament. Certainly the Australian Open, something to get himself ready for it. Maybe something in the Sunshine Double. I don't know. Maybe I'm over-egging it. Maybe he's not as bothered. But I think he's going to want to have his. It's really hard to retire. It's really hard to know how to do it, And we've seen Murray and Serena and Federer and Nadal all go through it recently, and they've all been very different. So, very personal thing.
And they do ceremonies well here. Bring back Sue Barker again.
Always.
Should we just talk about Jannik Sinner a little bit more? Has anybody got any more superlatives to throw into the mix for Jannik Sinner today?
Got a stat?
Yes, please.
I could try one of those. Second youngest man in the Open era to reach all 4 Grand Slam finals. Which, when it was put to him in the on-court interview, he said he was the 5th person, and I immediately went, surely there's been more than that since 1995. And he read out the big 4, and then Jannik Sinner, and I was like, yes, Alcaraz hasn't done it yet. Of course, he hasn't reached the Australian Open final yet. Which,
not even semis, has he?
No. So really, Sinner. It's a big moment, I think, reaching this on grass.
He hasn't really had any youngest stats, has he? Like, Alcaraz has been the one having all the youngest to do a thing stats.
Yeah, and suddenly if Sinner were to win the title on Sunday, both he and Alcaraz would be one away from completing the career slam, and obviously Alcaraz would get that shot first in Australia, but that would be a fun narrative next year. But he was awesome. I mean, he was absolutely brilliant. Hit the ball just as well as he had against Ben Shelton, I think, when we were really impressed with how he was striking the ball with such conviction.
And he was saying he was better than that today.
Right.
He said, I was moving better today. I'm thinking, oh my God. Poor Ben Shelton.
Yeah, he's brilliant. It was such a non-match. I mean,
yeah, I know.
The thing is, what gets me is that anytime you have a doubt about it, whenever I think, oh yeah, but he hasn't done it on clay yet, or he hasn't done it at Wimbledon yet, or he's just had a fall, or he's just sacked his physical trainer and his physio. Anytime you have a doubt about him, he just sort of swats it aside like a fly, as if to say, don't be ridiculous. Of course there's nothing wrong with it.
Because if you actually stack up, the stuff that's happened to him off the court, we were talking about this with Itamar earlier, weren't we? Our colleague, and he's had what if you wrote down the list of stuff that sort of happened around him off the court, if you wrote that down in pertaining to another player, you'd think that's pretty chaotic. Obviously there's the ban and that whole situation, but there was the way he handled sacking those trainers that were implicated in the positive test. Then there's what's happened with his new physical training team that he's got rid of on the eve of Wimbledon. There's the random classical music single with Andrea Bocelli. I think that is quite chaotic behaviour.
He seems to take it all in his stride.
Yeah, there's the fall. Okay, anybody can fall, but these are things, and yet he's the most unchaotic, disciplined, straight as an arrow guy on the tennis court. He's totally unflappable, except for that one game where he dropped serve from 30 love up and his forehand just deserted him today. It was almost as if he was trying to remind us all that he is human after all. And he said in his on-court interview, didn't he, that he's surprised himself with how well he's learnt to move on grass. He said, I found it really hard when I first stepped foot on this surface. I didn't feel comfortable at all. And I think it is very easy for us to go, oh, well, these guys are just brilliant, aren't they? Like, obviously they can do all this stuff, but they can't just do it. They just work incredibly hard at it whilst also fitting in forays into classical music.
And on grass in particular, you get such little time to be able to learn to do it. So, like, if he'd had the amount of time on grass that he's had on, for example, clay, he probably would have got there in a couple of seasons rather than, maybe 4 or 5 seasons. But oh, he's here now.
They'd all be playing like Tatiana Maria if there was a long grass court season and everybody had time to really craft a bespoke grass court game.
I don't think Yannick Sinner would be.
There'd be a bit more Tatiana Maria in his baseline game, maybe.
Well, Alcaraz was just asked in the Spanish portion of his press conference what shot he would take from Sinner and what shot he thought that Sinner would take from him, and he said he thinks that Sinner would take el toque, my touch, and he said the slice, the drop shots, and all that kind of stuff. And yes, that is an element of his game that, look, it's improved. It's definitely got better. He's definitely added it to his arsenal, but it is an area where it feels like Alcaraz has a big advantage over him.
Okay, let's talk about Carlos Alcaraz. 4 sets for him over Taylor Fritz today, 6-4, 5-7, 6-3, 7-6. Won the last 4 points of the match from 2 set points down to take it into a fifth. Pretty heartbreaking way for it to end for Taylor Fritz. Let's start talking about this by discovering what Alcaraz's answer was in Spanish to what would you take of Yannick Sinner's, because I suspect a year ago the answer would have been the serve, and I suspect he didn't say the serve today, because I think he probably wants to stick with his own serve.
Because he's a serve bot now, or he is, like, he can be.
Right.
Like halfway through a tournament.
You're going to tell me he said the serve now, aren't you?
He said the backhand. Yeah. He said he thinks...
I mean, you have to say something, don't you?
Yeah.
You can't say nothing, really.
I think Holger Rune would potentially say nothing. I'm happy with all of my own stuff. I'm pretty sure that question got asked to Holger Rune last year, 2 years ago, when he was going to play Alcaraz.
Yeah.
And he genuinely did struggle. He was like, I'm really pleased with my game.
Should we ask again?
Take his brain, Holger.
Yeah.
Take someone else's brain.
The thing is, though, serve bot Alcaraz, a little bit boring.
Yeah, I don't want to piss on the bonfire of today, but that match was really dull.
There was 4 sets, 4 games went to deuce. And people who listen to this pod will know I love deuce. I love mini battles within a match.
I love deuce on a t-shirt.
We basically got none of them. Like, the breaks were, when they came, they were then backed up and the sets were over. Really fun 4th set tie break. It went from 4-1 Alcaraz, 4-6 Fritz up 2 set points. Then Alcaraz came back at him and won it 8-6. An absolutely fantastic point to save one of the set points and stop it going into a 5th. But even then a little bit was like, well, he's already 2 sets to 1 up. Alcaraz doesn't lose in 5th sets. He's going to win this match. And absolutely the serve bot element was the next development in his game, and it's great for Alcaraz that he's developed it, and he still sprinkles these matches with stardust, and he serve and volleys, or he plays those drop shots, or he injects pace. He's still the most exciting player in the world. It's just I quite liked it when he was addicted to the drama. And the thing is...
Bring back Bertic.
Right. Well, the thing is, Sinner, at least in the final, is the one guy who, even if Alcaraz is, I think, playing the absolute best, can live with him. And I can't believe we get to see Alcaraz Sinner again. I feel like I'm still recovering from the last one. But... can't wait for Sunday. You,
David, have always said that the next progression for Carlos Alcaraz is to be a bit more boring.
Yeah, when it
careful
happens,
what you wish for.
It's quite a shock to the system when it happens, because it happens in the middle of a tournament, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's not like, Yannick Sinner's just always like that.
Yeah.
He just destroys you. Simple as that. There's no drama. It just goes and takes you apart. Alcaraz doesn't. Alcaraz against Fabio Fognini, I reckon Alcaraz loses to half the draw with that performance. But he wouldn't do that performance against someone that's not Fabio Fognini. Quite possibly, although I do think first rounds at Wimbledon, that's 2 in a row where he's just looked super nervous. Yeah. You get to today, and he did not lose a single serve point on his first serve in that first set. And it was just
out of 15.
raining aces. And he's picking out the corners, and he's hitting them, a lot of them 135 miles an hour. It was It's quite mind-blowing what he's doing. Fritz sort of wanted it to be one of those battles because he's got a good first serve and a great first shot behind it, and the problem for him was he lost his serve in the first game of the match, and I mean he was right in front of me when he did that, and he turned around and just went, oh no, just kind of. The one thing I didn't need to do was that, because the set's gone. And Alcaraz just comes straight out and serves a love service game. And just the three of them were unreturnable serves. It was just awesome. And, I mean, yes, I suppose it is a bit boring compared to what we used to. I mean, I'm a 90s boy. I loved it. I just love watching him deliver those sort of serves and shots. And so I'm less bothered by it probably, but I am fascinated to see whether he can keep it up and the adjustments he then has to make when it doesn't work, because it's not like watching Sampras. Sampras used to be like that all the time. That was his game. For Alcaraz, it's a nice, pleasant surprise for him. But no, he did look super. I mean, the big surprise to me is that he ended up losing the second set, and I think it's great credit to Fritz that he actually dug in and got his serve going and he very clearly decided, if I get a racket on the ball and get it back deep onto his baseline, I've then got to hit the living daylights out of it and not try to rally. I've got to go for the winner, and he took his chance.
Fritz gave a great press conference afterwards. He's box office in press conference. He's kind of unmissable, win or lose, because of the way he breaks down the game for you. And he did an incredible breakdown analysis of Carlos Alcaraz's game, which we'll talk about in a moment. But in terms of his own, the impression I got is that while he gave tremendous credit to Carlos Alcaraz, he doesn't think he's that far away. Is he deluded?
Well, look, there was that
genuine question, Matthew.
There was, I referred in commentary to the press conference answer that Fritz gave that day before about, if I play like I did in the first two sets against Khachanov, there's nothing anybody can do. And I mean, the thing is, what he's not factoring in there is the magic dust of Carlos Alcaraz. Every time Alcaraz drop shotted him, brought him forwards, he looked lumbering, because it's not a natural strength of his game. He's worked incredibly hard at it to reduce the weakness, but he still looks like he doesn't know what the heck to do when he gets up there, and Alcaraz just exploited that. So, look, he got set points to take it into a fifth. That's blooming good going. I didn't ever think he would win.
I think for tennis players, and Taylor Fritz, he's ranked really high, and it kind of goes to that thing that Federer said at that speech he gave, where he won 80-something% of his matches, but only won 50-something% of the points. Like, the margins are small, and particularly on grass, and yet when it just keeps happening time and time again, you see the big picture, and he is far away. The way he got beaten pretty easily by Jannik Sinner in the US Open final, the way he's ever beaten Novak Djokovic, has he? And he loses in 4 today to Alcaraz, and that accumulation over time sort of shows you that he's quite far away, even if within every little moment he's maybe not miles off it. It's maybe a bit like the sort of reality that Novak Djokovic has felt today. If you look at his season, semi-finals of all the majors, you think, well, he's competitive, he could win them. But actually, if you take a step back, have we ever actually thought he was going to win one of those majors this year? Because of the guys in front of him, because of the injuries he's got, the big picture is he's not that close. And I think it's that for Fritz. In the moment, he maybe feels like he's not that close, but the same thing keeps happening. And these two are better. Djokovic said it in his press conference, didn't he? He said they're levels above everyone else, Sinner and Alcaraz.
My question to Taylor Fritz was going to be about what you said about when you go 2-1 down against Carlos Alcaraz, or whatever stage of the match, when you lose 2 sets to Carlos Alcaraz, does everyone's heart just sink because the locker room knows his 5-set record? It's over. And I put in the question, I assume I said, obviously, Carlos has this incredible 5-set record. I assume the locker room is aware of that. And he said, I didn't know. He said, he claimed that he doesn't know about it. He could have meant I don't know the numbers, like I don't know the specific record. I do think he would have been honest. He does strike me as that kind of guy, but I also do find it hard to believe that the locker room doesn't know generally his 5-set record, I think.
Yeah, as you
Most
say,
of them know.
the specifics maybe, but like also that surprised me of Fritz, because Fritz is, I don't know, it strikes me that he's really up on
Right.
people's stats and that kind of thing.
He gave some incredible analysis of Carlos Alcaraz's game, and an element of it that is given too little credit, I think, and probably by us included, because we always talk about his reliance, or have in the past talked about his reliance on Juan Carlos Ferrero, and how sometimes when it's not going well for him, he can sort of look at them like, tell me what to do, or look at a bit of a loss, or look overly dependent on them for input. And Taylor Fritz said today that the thing to him that is most impressive about Carlos Alcaraz is the adjustment he makes in matches, the tactical adjustments. And he was asked to give an example of that, and he said, okay, well, for the first 2 sets, he felt that Taylor Fritz said, I don't know what the numbers were, but I felt like I was getting a
15 minutes. I was drinking. Way to the exit gates, and make sure you take all your belongings with you. We hope you've enjoyed your day here at Wimbledon and wish you a pleasant and safe journey home. Thank you.
Gosh, they should give us a warning, shouldn't they?
Some sort of
It's
alarm.
amazing how Johnny Perkins is never,
I know.
mid-gulp.
He's always ready.
Always
it's like
ready.
the
Pro.
ground staff here on the outside courts. You ever noticed this? There's like a numbering system for the ground staff. If you're on an outside court, you might just randomly see like the number 4, and it's something to do with their level of preparedness that they need to be.
Oh yes,
in
for
terms
rain.
of weather coming and that kind of thing. I need a little numbering system over there, so I know when Johnny's coming.
It's getting high maintenance, isn't it?
What was I saying? The tactical adjustments that Carlos Alcaraz makes mid-match, he said, for the first 2 sets, Taylor Fritz, obviously, particularly the second set that he won, he felt like he was getting a good look on the Alcaraz second serve return. He felt like he was getting good, aggressive hits in on the second serve return. And then he said from the third set onwards, he started really drastically mixing up his second serves, sometimes going like 120, almost first serve speeds on the second serve, and sometimes going for really half-pace kickers out wide. Huge variety. And he said it made it pretty impossible for me to, from that point, to be aggressive off the return, because I just didn't know what was coming. He said, look, it's a risky strategy because you're more likely to double fault playing like that, but it's incredibly effective if you're as good as Carlos Alcaraz.
And that's what Alcaraz always does, is he goes for it. He doesn't question himself. He just feels something and adapts accordingly. And yeah, I loved the way he broke that down and said, if you do something like, he said, I don't beat myself up, because if I'd have made 1 or 2 of the adjustments that I feel in hindsight I should have made, he would then just adjust something as well. And the next thing you know, it was pointless. I asked him to kind of, given that he's played Sinner and Alcaraz now at big tournaments in the last year, US Open final, Wimbledon semi-final, I asked him to sort of compare and contrast what it's like trying to take them on, and it seemed to me that he feels more comfortable playing against Sinner. I know he got really outplayed in that US Open final, but he said before it that I like his ball, and I think that's the difference. It might be too good for him, but it's kind of the same every time. It's straight arrows, line, cross court, whatever it might be. Whereas with Alcaraz, there's more loop on it, and then it suddenly springs off the surface and it's going away from me. And then his ability to hit these drop shots or suddenly serve and volley out of nowhere, and he's really good at it. he says you don't know what's coming next. You can't prepare for it. So fascinating, and actually, huge credit to Fritz for being prepared to take these sort of questions when he's just had the disappointment of a loss. He's really good with everybody, I think, post match. And I do find that fourth set, the fact that he got it into the tiebreak and that he was 4-1 down in that tiebreak. And he won 5 points in a row from there. I think he should take great heart from that. The 2 set points he had, I think he did say I had a couple of good looks, but I don't think he should regret too much really there. I think Alcaraz did Alcaraz things at that point.
Will Taylor Fritz win a slam? So I should specify singles, because obviously there's US Open mixed doubles.
He really backs himself in that mixed doubles, as we know.
He'd need one of these two to not be there, I think. That's the point. If these two, something happens, a Botic comes along, or Sinner gets injured, all of these things are possible. At some point, the chances are they're both going to get injured, or they're both going to have a bad loss. A Bublik's going to come along. So, who's going to be there to pick up the pieces? Fritz has to be in the pack there. I think there's been a couple of times where he's let himself down in those situations. He'll point to the Australian Open loss that he had against Gael Monfils. That was a tough one for him. There've been a couple of those, but he needs to be right in there when one of those situations happens, because I think you get either of those two in the semi-finals, I don't think his chances don't look good.
And that's the problem for him. Like, Sinner and Alcaraz are pack hunting these things now. Like, I think going back to the start of last year, start of 2024, when they've both been in the draw at a tournament, there's only been one event where either of them hasn't won it, and that was Madrid last year, when it was weird, wasn't it, Madrid?
Yeah, it was really weird.
And they'll have won the last 6 slams between them now, won't they? Like, one of them might lose early or might have something going on, but for both of them, it's becoming very, very tough, and I don't see that Fritz can do much more than he's already doing. Like, there are certain players around who I look at and think, okay, maybe there's more to come.
And he also needs to maintain what he's currently doing so that he is in position.
Yes, very good point.
Look at Medvedev, the way he's declined. Like,
he can't work any harder,
he hasn't even been able to hold the ground that he had as the best of the rest.
And even this season, we saw him, struggling to maintain it prior to the grass. It's tough.
He's 4 or 5 years older than those two.
I think it is going to be interesting to see how the US Open plays out with
mixed doubles.
With Sinner and Alcaraz, because traditionally the US Open has been the one where other players have got in there. A Del Potro.
You're going to mention Bertic again?
No, I'm going to mention Del Potro, Cilic, Nishikori getting to the final, Team. Like, even in the big 4 era. Wawrinka, right? Even in that era, that was the one that they didn't have on lockdown. And it's just going to be interesting to see whether that happens with Sinner and Alcaraz as well, because
Kevin Anderson.
Right, exactly. All these people reached finals, had big moments there, whereas like Alcaraz has shown French Open, Wimbledon, he's doing incredible things in the summer. Fresh start of the season on a hard court, that's got Yannick Sinner's name written all over it. End of the season, when it's conditions in New York, like, with the American crowd, like, maybe Fritz can get one of those. That's. I know Pam was speaking quite sort of strongly that she thinks an American from this generation is going to win a slam, and I don't know. We didn't ask her, but I would have thought that she's thinking there of a US Open. So we'll see, but I wouldn't be predicting it. I wouldn't be predicting Taylor Fritz to win a slam.
Tough day for me. I've just lost Hannah as a friend because I've put Kevin Anderson in the same sentence as Juan Martín del Potro. She is not happy.
Yeah, you deserve that.
No, I do.
Although we like Kevin Anderson.
I hold my hands up. So Alcaraz against Sinner, we will have plenty of opportunity to preview this match over the next 36 hours. We'll talk about it. I'm sure tomorrow at the end of our show, following the women's final, we will have a dedicated preview show. We've got one for both finals. We've got one midday tomorrow for the women's final. We've got one midday on Sunday for the men's final. So we'll go in depth on this and we'll take your questions as well. But just as a headline mini preview, Alcaraz was asked for a headline mini preview of this final. He said, I hope it won't be 5.5 hours. Do we hope it will be 5.5 hours? Do we want...
The problem
Do
is,
we want a replay of Paris?
if it goes 5.5 hours, I'm going to get annoyed because the roof's going to close halfway through it. And I'm going to think, why are they starting at 4 o'clock?
With the Lionesses.
Yeah. I'm really worried about Wimbledon finals now having to stop halfway through for the roof to close because it's got dark.
What point would they have to stop, do you think?
Well, they'd do it at the end
8?
of a set, wouldn't they, in anticipation? So
you might get
8:30 maybe if we're at that point, like something like that. It's not... I know, and like generally you would expect maybe grass court matches to go a bit quicker than the clay court ones, especially if they're serving as they have been. I want it to be great and finish before the roof has to close.
I'm now nervous about Grumpy Matt.
Look, in the moment, I'm sure I'll be like, "Oh, this is great," but in principle,
You'll be blonde by then.
So you can't be grumpy when he's sat there with blonde hair.
principle, it will annoy me.
David, what do you want? What do you foresee?
I hope that they just... I don't care how long it goes. I just want them to go toe-to-toe and play well again at the same time because it's the best side
Do you
in the
think
sport.
do you feel confident they will? Because do you remember before the French Open final, we were genuinely worried it might be a bit disappointing.
During.
Oh.
Right, yeah.
It ended up being one of the best matches of all time, absolutely. But I keep thinking about how close Jannik Sinner was to winning that in straight sets. It was 2 sets and a break-up, and certainly in 4 sets.
But it was still... It was
good.
Like the start of
The
it
start
was
was
electric,
amazing.
wasn't
Alcaraz
it?
went off for a bit, but it was good. It was good quality, but we wouldn't have been talking about it as a classic.
I do feel like I reassure myself that Alcaraz has always shown up in Grand Slam finals. He's not lost one.
Yeah.
And I reassure myself about that. But I do think that there is a chance one of these days that he comes out just a little bit off and Sinner just destroys him. Because of the way he plays and the straight lines down the line that he goes with. That might happen one day. And I think, look, we've all just got to accept that they're not superhuman. They're absolutely incredible players. But I'd just love to see them. I'd love to see the Wimbledon crowd get to see what we all witnessed in Paris. Something like that.
He's not asking for much. Just another 5.5 hour, one of the greatest matches of all time. That's all he wants.
If it was 4 sets, or if it was 3 really close sets, where they both played well at the same time. That. I just want to see them combine because I think that they have this ability to combine in a way that is of the very best rivalries out there.
Can't wait. Absolutely cannot wait for this finals weekend. Let's start with tomorrow, shall we? And it starts at 1 p.m. on centre court with the men's doubles final. Your guy Rinky Hijikata, David, in the final against David Pell of the Netherlands.
With him, no?
Yes. What did I say?
I thought you said against, but maybe you didn't.
I very much intended with.
Okay.
They are against... Julian Cash was going to say, Johnny, it's been a long fortnight. If
Everybody's
only
hit
it
the
was
wall
Johnny
today.
Cash. Be well into that. And Lloyd Glasspool, they're the 5th seeds. I'm going to guess that they're the favourites. Hijikata and Pell have saved match points, I think, in 3 matches.
Wow.
To get here. And I believe...
scenes in the semis.
I believe there's quite the story in terms of how they got together as a pair. There was a WhatsApp sent that was very hastily deleted. I'll try and get the full scoop.
I'm looking forward to it.
I hope there's more to it than that and not just a deleted WhatsApp. But there you go. So that is what kicks things off on centre at 1 p.m. And then that is followed by, not before 4 p.m, the women's singles final. Iga Swiatek.
Who's in that?
Matthew enjoyed that. Iga Swiatek against Amanda Anisimova.
We're here.
It's
We
happening.
made it. It's happening.
what's going to
You're
happen.
going to defer your prediction until tomorrow's preview show at 12, or are we going to get it?
Do you feel able to rationally preview this?
Sure.
Honest question. It's okay
Sure.
if you're not.
Yeah, no, I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Swiatek's the favourite. I think the single most likely outcome is Swiatek in 2, given how well she's playing, given her record and experience in Grand Slam finals, given what people say about, it's Anisimova's first time having to play Swiatek, and given what people say about her intensity and her speed of foot and her ball and her RPMs, it's just a lot to adjust to in a nervous big moment for Amanda Anisimova. So I think if it went that way, I would not be at all surprised. But my pick is Anisimova, obviously.
You told New York Times listeners that you just have a feeling.
I did. I didn't give them all the lore of
Do you still have a feeling?
6 years worth of feeling. Yeah, I do.
See if he has a feeling still at 12 tomorrow.
David, what's your feeling?
And sorry, can I just say what I've said there about, how Anisimova's going to have to adjust to facing Swiatek for the first time. She's going to also have to adjust Swiatek to facing Anisimova for the first time. And that ball strike, and if I'm Anisimova, I'm thinking Ostapenko tomorrow. Those big flat hits, get the first hit in the rally. Ostapenko does not move well. She maybe moves worse than Anisimova at the moment. And she manages to not be too bothered by the Swiatek game. The thing is with Ostapenko is that it's her entire personality to beat Swiatek, and she goes into this mode that I don't know if even Anisimova has. But tactically, I think there's something that Anisimova can learn from her there.
Do you think if Amanda Anisimova called up Jelena Ostapenko tonight and said,
"Come in the box"?
Imagine that.
That's great, isn't it? Get her in the box.
Oh my God.
Freak her out.
Freak
Yeah,
her
it'd be
out.
love and love if Ostapenko's in the box. No, if you think...
God, I'm obsessed with that idea.
I wondered if Andy Murray was going to show up in the box for when Dan Evans played Novak Djokovic. If he was going to show up in Dan Evans' box, I was willing that to happen for the plot. But anyway, no, I mean obviously box dream scenario. But if she called her up tonight and said, "Jelena, tell me all your secrets. How do I do it?" Do you think Jelena's spilling, or do you think
No.
she's saying no, that's mine?
She's saying no, that's mine. I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think she's got anything really against Swiatek. I think she just likes the fact that she knows how to beat her.
Right, and she wants that to be hers.
Yeah.
Her thing.
Yeah. I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe she's more generous than I realise.
I agree with you. I think she's just very amused by it all and
Yeah.
really enjoys it.
David?
I tell you, listening to Matt talk about what Anisimova might be able to do to Swiatek, I find very compelling, and I did find myself potentially changing my mind halfway through your answer. But I feel that is overly romantic. If I do, I understand your feeling, and there's also good logic behind it, because Swiatek has been beaten by big power hitters with flat hits, and Anisimova can hurt you from both sides. I do think I will pick Swiatek to win the match. I think she has a game that can hurt Anisimova with the ability to move her, and I really fear that Anisimova may freeze a little. And
How big a fear is that for you? Do you feel that's a significant risk?
yeah, I do, because it's hard, and because if she doesn't get off to a great start,
You can panic.
Swiatek's so relentless. She could just be out of sight in about 15 minutes. Could be 4-love.
She was very settled very early against Sabalenka. I know semi is not the final,
It's encouraging, though.
but it is
I
encouraging.
think so.
Yeah.
And because I felt that was a risk against Sabalenka too. It's more of a risk against Swiatek because of the final, because of the way Swiatek does that to
Yeah.
people. If she can get the serve going and just get a couple of holds, if she
Yeah.
can get to 2-all, I think Anisimova becomes incredibly dangerous.
It just feels quite Madison Keysy, this run. if Madison Keys hadn't done what she did in Australia, if I didn't have that so recently in my mind, I might be more heavily favouring Swiatek than I am. I'm also sitting next to Matt Roberts, and I'm feeling that energy. And I'm now thinking about Elena Ostapenko as well.
And visualising the hair.
Yeah, exactly. It's all... maybe I'm the one that's unable to give rational takes about this. But yeah, the Madison Keys thing it's really in my mind.
Yeah.
And the fact that sometimes a tough draw ends up being a good draw. The fact that she's just beaten the world number one probably makes it more likely that she's going to beat a former world number one this time. You know, if she'd got there by beating Laura Siegemund, she'd have the confidence of beating Laura Siegemund, but that's not the same as the confidence of beating the world number one.
Yeah, I agree. The way Madison Keys carried that wave, that feeling, that knowing that she could do it into the final that's exactly what Anisimova's got to do.
We'll have more time to talk about it tomorrow on our preview show at midday. I am going to be asking for percentages at that point. You have a stay of execution.
Sure.
And a night's sleep helps to come up with it, doesn't it?
And an anxious night's sleep. You might be more of a state tomorrow, David.
I have been a bit of a state today.
hit the wall today.
Matt's parents were in today, and we went and chatted to them before coming up on air. They were such a vibe. I asked them if they wanted to sub in for me and Matt tonight.
This is what happens when you come to Wimbledon and don't watch Harriet Dart, Katie Bolter and that Cameron Norrie-Draper match. They had a great day today.
I'm really glad they had such a great day. That preview show, same as the one on Sunday ahead of the men's final, is midday. It's available for everybody on our YouTube channel, so subscribe to the YouTube channel, just search for us on there. We'll put the link in our show notes as well. You can get an alert when we're going live, but it's guaranteed to be midday. Those preview shows don't go up as a podcast because they go out of date so quickly.
Even more out of date than these ones.
Even more out of date than these ones. And there's just no need to go back and watch our preview shows of...
No, scrub it from the internet.
Yeah, particularly the one from the women's final 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I have actually campaigned for that to be scrubbed from the internet.
Yeah, the audio was bad and our takes were worse.
We should probably still do it.
Yeah.
Get rid of it.
Yeah.
What time is this in America?
So midday UK time is 7 a.m. East Coast time, and the convenient time of 4 a.m. in the West Coast. So Pam,
if you're not with us, Pam,
4 a.m.
we're going to be disappointed.
And then what will that be? 11 p.m. in Melbourne,
something like that.
And sort
You
of
can
it is quite 11 hours at the moment.
10 p.m. then, late evening in Australia, early mid-evening in Asia, that sort of thing.
Very good.
Midday in the UK, right here on our YouTube channel. Do smash that like and subscribe button while you are there. Folks, we need to say hello to our mascots for this show. Just before I do that, you might hear us talking about Friends of the Tennis podcast. That is our subscription service for people that particularly love the show, want more of it, or people that just hate ads and want some ad-free listening. It is available to anybody that wants it. You get ad-free listening. You get 8 editions of Tennis Relived every year. You get monthly live YouTube shows where we cover all sorts of different topics. Lots of them are Q&As, so you can have the chance to submit your questions. Grand Slam review shows, which help people cope with the post Grand Slam blues, including us. So there'll be one of those about this Wimbledon next week, and we get some awesome voice notes from contributors, which really help with those shows as well. You get Hannah's column. Hannah is an incredible writer, and we're very lucky to have her as part of our team. She also is the captain of the Barge, which is our safe community platform for Friends of the Tennis podcast to talk about tennis with people that like talking about tennis in a non-abusive way. Pre-sale tickets for live events, and 90 plus bonus podcasts in the Friends archive, some of which have aged better than others. But all of which are an entertaining listen nonetheless. So if that sounds good, then the link to become a friend, as always, is in our show notes. You can also get yourself an intro or a shout out. More on that in a moment. We, of course, have our Mascots, Phoebe, Maisie and Roger, hello to you. Hello to our executive producers, Greg, Chris and Jeff. Do we have shout-outs tonight, Matt?
We do.
I've been shielded from them. They're not in my agenda.
Yes, I stole them. Put them in my agenda.
We've got competing agendas.
Well, it's nice when they're a surprise, no?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm prepared to be surprised.
Emily Price, we start with, in Wodonga, Australia. I don't
Hello,
know if
Emily.
I'm saying that right. I'm sure
Hi,
the
Emily.
Australians will tell me if I'm not. 3 hours north of Melbourne, apparently.
So that probably means the live show will be about 9 or 10 p.m. for the preview show.
Yeah. And Emily and her tennis bestie Nat are actually
Aw.
ticking off a bucket list item and coming to Wimbledon this year. So maybe they've already been.
Wow, that is an incredible bucket list thing to do for the first time. Maybe they had the vibe of your mum and dad.
They were sat near Josh
Nothing.
Widdicombe.
Oh,
Mm.
no royal box for Josh
No.
or for Leonardo DiCaprio.
No. Or for Garbina Muguruza.
No, but she was sat sort of behind Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah.
I doubt they were, the cheap seats.
I'm sure they had a good day.
Emily, we hope you had a good day, like Emily Webley-Smith.
Yep.
She's our only Emily.
I don't know any others. Emily Appleton?
Ooh.
Is
She's a doubles
British
player. British
Yeah.
doubles player.
Yeah.
Very big. Thank you, Emily.
We've also got Thomas Rondeau, who is from Belgium but lives in New York.
Hello,
I've met
Thomas. Yes,
Hey, Thomas.
we know Thomas.
He says, like the best player in the world.
Yeah.
Oh, he had some Instagram content overnight. Have you seen that?
No.
Well, it's there. Yeah, it's not giving best player in the world. Put it that way. It's fine. Don't really understand him
To be
as
fair,
a person.
He only gave that once, didn't he? In a very specific rally.
Yeah.
Look at Matt rowing back from the best player in the
I
world.
love the bit, but
Thomas, like Thomas Muster, like
Yeah.
Thomas Enquist.
Like Thomas Schmid from the 80s. Anybody remember Thomas Schmid? No? Right,
Thomas
just me?
Bellucci.
Yeah. He had a Z on the end of his name.
Do we know that Thomas? We do know that Thomas Rondeau doesn't.
yeah.
We do.
Thomas and his partner Katie welcomed a baby girl last
Aw.
March. As Thomas said, I ended up watching the Sinaraz Kokalenka, sorry David, Roland Garros finals on my phone while pushing her stroller during nap time. Bad idea. I was way too into it and came close to waking her up too many times. We French speakers really can't keep in the ooh-la-las.
Oh, Thomas, maybe.
Yes, although then he's written like Thomas Mahach, so might be
okay.
trying to guide me on that pronunciation. Or maybe he just wanted a Thomas Mahach mention.
Thomas, thank you very much for your continued support and hello.
And finally, we have Deborah Raffson from Florida, who
Hi, Deborah.
is in our predictions competition this Wimbledon.
How's
in
she
the
doing?
newsletter. I think pretty well, pretty solid. And we met Deborah at the New York Live show last year. She was also thrilled to meet Mary and Pam there. And Catherine, you and I met up with her at the coffee stand on day one of the US Open.
That was a lovely experience.
Before we all went off to watch Amanda Anisimova lose.
Well, before that, it was a
Not
really
an
lovely
omen,
experience.
don't worry.
No, it's not an omen. No.
That really was a lovely way to start the US Open.
It was great.
So thank you, Deborah. Like David. It's quite a 90s name, Deborah. I feel like you've got to have something here. Any Debbies? Deborah Jevons.
Different spelling, but we'll definitely take it.
Well done.
Deborah. So nearly let you down there. But we've pulled it out of the bag at the last minute.
chair.
Yeah. She's chatted to a right old cast of characters in the Royal Box
Sat
this
next
week.
to Roger Federer.
She has
Bjorn
to have all
Borg.
the chit chat. Anna Wintour was there today. Benedict Cumberbatch. Rami Malek. Right then, that's it for today, folks. We'll be back twice tomorrow. Once on YouTube exclusively at midday UK time for our women's final preview show, and we'll take your questions on that show as well. We might not be here because it's going to be 32 degrees tomorrow, and I'm demanding to be in the shade. which this
Co-sign.
spot isn't at midday, but we'll be somewhere around here. We'll tell you after, Matthew. Doesn't need to be arranged right now. So we'll be back for that at midday tomorrow. Then, of course, we'll be back at the end of play to talk about what's happened.
Godspeed, everyone.
Thank you so much for listening, for watching. Do subscribe to the channel if you're watching us on YouTube, and we'll see you and speak to you tomorrow.